decided to be here today. It's a very special day. It's a special day for one of the best Olympians of the 2012 squad, Great Britain squad, Anthony Ogogo, to turn pro. But it's a big day for us here at Golden Boy as well. As you all know, the UK market has a very special place for us. I think we've built up a very good name recognition here in the UK. We've been involved with some of the biggest names of the past 10 years or so, from Ricky Hatton to David Hay, Joe Calzaghe, Amir Khan. So we really, I think, made a mark on the UK boxing scene. I feel that we have a great fan support here in the UK. But for us today is a very, very special day. Who is that? It's a very, very special day. Monica, can you maybe see if you can turn that down?
You know what I'm saying?
So ask him different expectations. Because what we're doing today is really groundbreaking. We want to take a young fighter from his very first professional fight and make him a crossover superstar. A star which is recognized here in the UK, his home fan base, but in the United States as well. I don't think that has ever been done. It's a challenge for us. It's an opportunity for Anthony, but I am convinced that with the Golden Boy machinery behind it, that we will be able to succeed. Anthony is a very special talent inside the ring, but he really has that crossover appeal as well. He is clean-cut, he speaks very well, comes across very well, has charisma, and that's exactly what we're looking for when we sign fighters to Golden Boy. The idea here is to have Anthony fight regularly in the UK, but regularly in the United States as well, on some of the biggest bills which we have, including the Mayweather fights and on and on. We really want to show the world, if you have the right talent, with the right charisma, that the sky's the limit. And I think with Anthony, we have that opportunity. I don't have to tell you the background from Anthony. You know his amateur background, you know what fighter he is, you know his personal story, so I'm not going to go there. But we are planning, Golden Boy is planning to do 4 events a year, live events from the UK under the Golden Boy banner. Anthony will be fighting on all 4 of those events, and at the same time, we would want him to fight at least 4 times in the UK, in the US as well, during the first year. So the plan is to give him 8 fights. We are looking at signing potentially 1 or 2 other young fighters here in the UK to really put together like the Golden Boy UK dream team. We don't want quantity, we want quality. We want fighters who have the personality, and I've used that word again, charisma, to really cross over, to connect with the audience. So we've been approached by several fighters. So far we only have signed 1 and made, which is Anthony. We're going to be very, very selective, sort of like by invitation only. Because I think that's what you need. It's not just the skills in the ring, but it's the personality outside, which will ultimately help to make a fighter a superstar, a global superstar. And I am convinced that Anthony has all the ingredients for that. I want to thank Dean Baker, who is Anthony Ogogo's agent with Wasserman Media Group. Wasserman Media Group is one of the leading sports agencies in the world, headquartered in Los Angeles. Casey Wasserman, I've met him as well in Los Angeles. I think they are making a commitment to get involved more and more with the sport of boxing. They see the opportunities as well. And I think what Wasserman is going to be doing for Anthony is give him the commercial exposure as well, which I think is very important. You know already, you've seen Anthony all over the billboards with Subway. And so the idea is to obviously do that with other brands as well. And I think that's important because you want to have the general market to know an athlete. And that's why I think the Wasserman Media Group involvement in the sport of boxing is great news. to have one of the leading agencies out there pitching fighters to corporate elite of companies in the UK, in the United States, I think is great news for boxing. I'm going to turn it over to Dean now before I'm going to introduce Anthony.
Thank you, Richard. Yeah, just a few brief words really before we hand over to the main man. My name's Dean Baker. I'm the head of boxing at Wasserman Media Group. Wasserman is a global company really. We've got offices in Los Angeles, New York and London. We operate in a number of sports, team sports such as football, basketball, baseball, individual sports such as golf, cycling, athletics and of course boxing. We have been operating in the space for a couple of years. We've done a number of commercial deals with like Randall Khan and David Price. Previously I've done some work with my colleague here, Nicky Campbell, with Ricky Hatton. My relationship with Anthony, I've been a sports agent for over 15 years. My relationship with Anthony spans the past 5 years as both friend and advisor. On behalf of Wasserman Media Group, I'd like to thank Richard, Oscar and Golden Boy Promotions for their long-term commitment to the promotion of Anthony. I would say that Golden Boy were the one promoter that truly shared our vision for Anthony. I would also say that they were the one promoter that truly valued Anthony's dedication, commitment and genuine talent in the ring. And it was quite an easy decision to make, and one that Anthony will come on to tell you a little bit more about. But from our point of view, Golden Boy have signed a guy that I've known for many years, and he is one of the most charismatic, likeable, level-headed and charming people that I've ever had the pleasure to meet. And I'm just glad that you guys can come today and share the first part of our journey with us. Without further ado, I'll pass over to the man himself.
Thank you. Thanks everyone coming. Also, advise most of the time in fashion, I've always been in Dean. I'm saying, Dean, what should I wear? What should I wear? So, fashion advice is probably one of yeah, thanks for coming, everybody. Really appreciate it. Like Dean said, I'm kind of the first part of my journey. I'm absolutely thrilled. I can talk. I'm probably going to get to know for the next 10 to 15 years. I can talk, and so I'll give this brief and obviously answer like loads of questions hopefully. But yeah, I'm just absolutely exhilarated to to sign my deal with Golden Boy, to join this, what is a superpower in the world of boxing, to have met Richard and Dean up to those 5 years ago. I'm just, I'm so excited to get started, and yeah, like I hope to usher in a new era of boxing. I can't wait to get started. And, I'm absolutely thrilled. Like I said, I'm thrilled to get going, and I'm really proud as well to have signed with Golden Boy Promotions.
All right, thank you. Now we're going to open it up for questions. Yes.
John Dennis from Boxing News. Anthony, why did you go for an overseas promoter rather than one of British?
I think, it was like Dean said, I met all the guys, I met all the, majority of the British promoters, and I'd like to take the opportunity to thank them as well. Particularly I met Frank Warren, Ricky Hatton, Superfight Promotions, and then Matchroom Promotions as well. And particularly Ricky Hatton, they all showed great hospitality, but Ricky had me and Dean up at his house, didn't he? He lovely partner, Jen, made a nice lunch. I was there like playing. I've got a few nephews and nieces of mine, so I was playing with his daughter, and that was a great day. But when I met Richard came to our Soho offices, and when I met him, a couple of things like stuck out really. We had a great meeting, didn't we?
Absolutely, immediate connect.
Yeah, because there's a spark straight away, and it's completely like sporting context. We hit it off straight away. And just one thing particularly was down within my head. I was driving home and going over the meeting in my head. Richard said something like, when he wants something, he usually gets it. I thought, well, I like that, and it wasn't in an arrogant way at all. It was just, when Richard feels passionate about something and he wants it, he gets it. So I thought, Richard's a guy that's the guy I want to leave my career in his hands. If I come to Richard in a couple of years' time and say, Richard, I want to pack out Carrow Road in Norwich, I'm sure he's the man who's going to do it for me. If I want to pack out Portman Road in Ipswich, I'm sure he's the man who's going to do it for me. So that was reason one, and Dean alluded to it earlier. Richard shared my ambition in what I want to do. I sat front of all the promoters, including Richard, and I'm going to do to you guys now. And I told them that I want to become, I want to become a global superstar. I want to become, Britain's best ever middleweight boxer. And that's a massive statement. We've had, Randolph Turpin, Alan Minter, Nigel Benn, all the guys back in the 90s, and I genuinely want to be the best one out of all of them. And when I told them, this is going on a bit now, but I want to become, knighted in the future. I want to become Sir Anthony Ogogo. I want to become all this stuff. When the guys got their MBEs in there recently, I was gutted I missed out because being such a patriotic Brit, I was gutted I missed out. But I want to get my MBE, I want to get my OBE, and I become knighted. So I've got massive aspirations, as you can gather. And when I said all this stuff to the other promoters, I thought I kind of got to look back by one or two of them and thought, how hard are you training here in the Olympic Games, But when I said it to Richard, he nodded along and said, well, let's do it. That's exactly what I want. Let's make you a global superstar. Let's make you synonymous with boxing, and let's get it done. So that's pretty much from there, wasn't it, really?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Great first meeting. We immediately connected, and I felt that Anthony has the skills in and outside of the ring, and so we really felt. I walked away from that meeting, and I said, I really hope that Anthony had those same feelings. And then you sent me an email later on that night. Extremely, probably one of the best, well-written emails I've ever received. So I saw that he really comes across very well, and then from there on, pretty much worked out the details. And for me, having been involved with probably the biggest fighters of this generation, whether it's an Oscar De La Hoya, Floyd Mayweather, or Shane Mosley, or Bernard Hopkins, or Mark Antonio Barra, or Manuel Marquez, and on. I gave Anthony my word, shook his hand, looked in his eyes, and I said, I am personally going to be involved to make you and help you become that global superstar, which I believe you can become. And we have taken in the United States fighters from the first fight to become world champions. You look at an Adrian Broner from the first fight, and now he's the best in his division. You look at Danny Garcia from the first fight, and now he's best in his division. You look at Abner Mares from his first fight, and now he's the best in his division. And I believe we could do the same with Anthony Ogogo. It's going to be interesting to see that those parallel roads, building him up in the United States and building him up here in the UK, on what kind of impact that will have on him and on the sport to really transcend the sport of boxing and become a crossover star. And that's really the plan here.
Anthony, Tom Hopkinson from the Sunday People. What makes you think you'll be a good pro?
I think a few reasons, really. I think I've got I've got that winning determination. I've got that uniqueness. What I think all successful people in life have. Like you said about Oscar earlier. Oscar has achieved everything in boxing, more than anybody else before he would have. And that's he's got that uniqueness where he wants to succeed. And Richard has in your line of business. When Richard and Oscar came together 10 or so years ago and wanted to make Golden Boy the biggest company in the world. They've gone and done that within boxing. And I think I've got the same thing. I think the reason why I know I'm going to be successful in this game is because we're going back 18 months. I was told that when the Olympics were going to happen for me, my shoulder was pretty much hanging off, and I was spoken to John a few times when I won. You saw on my journey to the Olympic Games, my shoulder was basically hanging off. The surgeon said, "Give it a miss. You're still young. Go to Rio." And I thought, who's this guy telling me what I can and can't do? So I rehabbed it super quick. I used to wake up early in the morning. I used to wake up in the middle of the night to rehab my shoulder. I used to use a 1 kilo dumbbell when that felt like 100 kilos, and I used to work so hard to the point that I was in tears, to the point that I had sick in the back of my throat. That's the magnitude. That's how important the Olympic Games were for me. And I got there. I was 6 point downs again. John, I know you were there, and we discussed it there. I was 6 point downs going into one of my fights against a Georgian. And that doesn't really get turned around in amateur boxing. Nobody pulls back 6 points going into the final round, and I managed to do it just because of that hard work and determination, all the pain I went through and rehabbing my shoulder, and that showed that grit and determination that I have, and I think that's innate in me, and I managed to kind of pull that back, and I qualified. And then even in getting to the Olympic Games was hard. I don't think anybody, any boxer, any other athlete had as hard a journey as me going to the Olympic Games. And then prior to the Olympic Games, probably already know, my mum was taken very seriously ill, to the point where I pulled out of the Olympic Games. 6 weeks on the eve of the game with my mum. Like, yes, she was taken very, very ill. So brought my ball out, didn't do a stroke, didn't do a press up, didn't do a sit up, didn't do a run, didn't throw a punch for 3 weeks. I was right at bedtime. And I didn't even really want to go through the Olympic Games yet. My sisters kind of played the guilt card. They said, look, mum's going to get better. At this point, we didn't know if she was going to live or die, and it looked like she was going to do like the latter, for a long period of time. And they played that guilt card. So I went back to the gym, went back to Sheffield after 3 weeks of doing nothing. 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks before the Olympic Games started. Had my first spar. I didn't want to be there. I wanted to be back with my mum and with my family. The first spar, I back, my head was all over the place. I threw up a slow jab and I spun with Fred Evans, who obviously went on to get a silver medal Olympic Games, a great fighter. And I threw a slow jab out and he slipped in and threw it right into my body and broke my rib. So there I am, with a broken rib on the eve of the Olympic Games. I didn't want to go. My mum was like desperately ill. I didn't want to be there, but I kind of managed to kind of somehow, go in a trance, kind of put it all together, went to the Olympic Games, and even at the Olympic Games, I had a horrible jaw, I had a tough, stinking jaw, and even despite all that, I still kind of managed to kind of keep it together, win a medal, and leave the Olympic Games with some success. So that's why I know as a professional, I've got that, and that's innate in me now. That's better than me. I've learned that from my mum. I've got that work ethic and that ethos from my mother. That I know as a professional, with the best promoter in the world, the best manager in the world, who I class as one of my very, very best friends, who's going to do right by me. And do right by me is I trust my career, I trust the man of my life. So with all this team around me, I'm going to get the best trainer in the world to work with me. I just can't see, with my talent and my determination, I can't see how I'm going to fail. And that's not meant in an arrogant way, that's just meant in a confident way. And I believe in my talents, I believe in these guys around me on this table, and I believe I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to try to be the best middleweight I've ever had from this country.
Anthony, Chris from East Anglia the other time. How did you put this to wanting to not stay in the amateur game and maybe go for real in 4 years' time?
It was relatively difficult because the squad's great. The setup they've got up in Sheffield is phenomenal. The coaches are great. I've made some great friends up there. But it was just a case, and I genuinely was like humming and hawing what to do for a period of time. Hadn't met many promoters by then. Went back up to Sheffield and I sat on the mini apron and I looked around and I just thought, I don't know if I can do this for another 4 years. They were talking about the Stranger Cup, which is a tournament I won in 2011. It's a really, really hard tournament in Bulgaria. Minus 15 degrees in February you go, and it's just, I didn't want to go from boxing in the XL Arena, 10,000 people chanting the go-go, like being like the centre of attention somewhat, to go into the Stranger Cup and boxing in a school hall in front of 50 people. I just didn't want to do it. And then I met Richard, and then he told me I could be potentially boxing on marathon undercards in the Emblem Grand in Las Vegas, or I could be having I could headline big shows here in East Anglia, in London, in Manchester, in Birmingham, around the UK, and captivating the national public. So when I kind of weighed it up, I thought, I've gone to London. London was amazing. Rio is not going to be as good because you're not going to have that passion of the local people. Then it was an easy decision, and then when I met Richard again, it was an easy decision of who's going with, and gone on from there. Now we're all sitting in this room together talking.
I think that's more business sport. Is there a first opponent lined up to read for a date, anything like that?
We're going to be looking at working with Anthony and the team. We're looking at sometime towards the end of April, beginning of May, and I'm going to have our matchmakers, Eric Gomez and Roberto Diaz, are going to be looking at the right opponents, and we are going to be retaining the services of the matchmaker here in the UK as well.
It was talk of February, wasn't it, initially, I think? Was that
No, it was always April.
Yeah, I've waited my whole career to become a professional fighter. I'd rather take an extra couple of months and make sure when I step through the website, I'm in unbelievable shape, and yeah, I want to go from the art form to the world. My first fight, I want to build on that. So I'd rather take an extra couple of months, get everything sorted, meet with Richard, meet with Dean, and sort my career out.
preference of whether that be in the States or in that first one as well?
What we're gonna see what makes the most sense. You know, when we are gonna do the first card, when we're gonna do the first card here in the UK, I want to make sure it's a big card. We're not gonna come and do a little golden boy event. So I want to plan it right. I want to have the right setup. I want to have the right card, the right TV partner, and that's very important. So I'm not going to rush into that. But at the same time, I don't want to hold Anthony back. So we're going to see which one makes the most sense.
One question for Anthony, two programs. The first of which is was beating Gavin Kitter of the world #1 at the Olympics part of the reason for turning pro as well, because obviously you treated him on.
I think so. I think like what's frustrating, Olympic Games really frustrating for him because I boxed to be the best guy in the competition. You know, he was like shooing for the gold medal. The Japanese fighter, Moatu, is a very, very good fighter. He beat him up really in the World Championships final, and that's quite frustrating for me to not like go on and do better. But like I said, I alluded to earlier, my draw was tough and took a lot out of me. I think the main reason for not staying amateur is because London was so great. London was amazing. You know, I'm assuming everybody got the chance to go down to at least one event. And if you were at the XLE and you saw how amazing it was, and I just don't want to go to Rio de Janeiro and box in a half-empty stadium because like, that's what they were in Beijing. And I want to kind of leave my Olympic legacy. I've had an extensive amateur career. I've enjoyed every single year of it. The ups and downs I've learned from, and I've developed my character from it. And I've just thought, what an amazing place to leave it, you know. And if I am going to turn professional, I need to do it now, and I can give myself a good 10, 12 years of carving a good professional career out. And if I did want to be, better than Alan Minter, not better, but alongside and held in the same kind of esteem as this great, amazing fighters like that, I'd even give myself a good 10, 12-year career and do it. So I thought, now is a chance. If I stay another 4 years, I potentially may never turn professional, and I'll be one of those. I'll be an amateur fighter that people will tend to forget in 10 to 12 years. So I thought this was definitely the time to do it now.
And the second part of that is obviously being signed by you know, as you say, a kind of power broker in world boxing. Do you intend to have sabbaticals where you go and do some of the training in America as well? Could you talk about that?
Yeah, no, I'd love that. I've discussed with Richard numerous times. Obviously, the guys that know me here know that I'm very patriotic. You know, again, I don't know if there's anybody in the Olympic Games across all the countries who was proud to represent their country as I was, you know, and has worked as hard to get to the Olympic Games as I did. And I'm very much a British fighter. You know, I don't want people to have that to misconstrue that fact. You know, I'm very much a British fighter. But listen, you know, in America, that's where a lot of the big guns are. That's where, like Richard said, the Adrian Burners come from, the Floyd Mayweathers come from. And if I can go over there and spend some time in a Mayweather camp, and spend some time in the Wild Card, or spend some time sparring with Peter Quillen, you know, middleweight world champion, that's only going to bring me on. It's only going to benefit me. So I think the beauty of this deal is I can stay here, I can train here. I want to do a lot of my training here. I'm very much a British guy, but I also get the best of both worlds, where I can go over to America and can go down to Mexico and spar some top fighters, South Africans, and amazing people like that, and learn, because I don't want to box myself off and become like a European style fighter, you know, what the Americans call. I want to become an all-round fighter. I want to become, like I said, the best fighter I can possibly be, the best middleweight out there. And that's going to happen through a lot of hard work and determination, and a lot of hard sparring, a lot of hard training here and over in America. So I think that's one of the beauties, one of the things that appealed to me greatly about this partnership.
Thank you.
Anthony, do you know yet who you're going to be training with?
Not yet. No, not as of yet. I think again the beauty of it, I can go and I can explore and I can go and work with different coaches. I don't particularly want to have 6, 7, 8 different coaches throughout my career. I'd love to have just the one guy. So I'm going to spend probably this year traveling around Britain, traveling around the US, and working with some different guys and learning different things, adding different strings to my bow, you know. And I'm going to do lots of, obviously I'm from East Anglia, I'm going to do a lot of my work with Graham Everett over in Norwich. He's a brilliant coach. You know, he's very much underrated. He's done a lot of good things with like limited pool of options and limited ability. So I'm going to do a lot of work with him, and I'm also going to continue to go up to Sheffield and spar with some of the amateurs, because being the young, I've done a lot of sparring with Carl Foster for the last 2 or 3 years. We've all seen how phenomenal, how he's managed to kind of elevate his game to another level. I'd like to think I had like a small part in doing that. You know, my speed and my sparring has definitely helped Carl to say himself. I want to go over there and go up to Sheffield and spar some of the amateurs to, you know, retain my speed, retain my quickness, and, you know, go to America. So hopefully by the end of the year I'll have something a bit more structured, a bit more in place. But now, you know, this first year when I'm out learning, I'm like a blank canvas. You know, you can paint whatever you want on me. I can go and learn some stuff.
Does that mean, Anthony, you don't know who's going to be in your corner for your first professional?
Not as of yet. No, I've got a couple of ideas, but I'll discuss with Dean, I'll discuss with Richard, and yeah, I think the first year is all about learning. I think the first year is all about learning, and as I'm new to the professional game, every single person up there, and you can probably teach them like a whole notebook of things. So I'm very much blank canvas. I want to learn, I want to absorb as much information as possible. So this first year I want to kind of learn different things, see who I like, see who I gel with, and then by the end of the year, hopefully before, you know, by the summer that'd be great, but hopefully before, have somebody who I trust, you know, completely. And every time I go in the ring, if they say, throw a double jab, spin around a bit and kick him, then that's what I'll do, because I trust him that much. So yeah, hopefully by the end of the year I'll have something a bit more structured.
Great choice, yeah.
Anthony, will you be taking any links with your coach, Charlie Lawrence?
I think, you know, like, I've known him for years, and I have to thank him as well as the GB squad, you know, that brought me on and they've got me to this place. So I want to thank all the guys that helped me, you know, get to this table with Richard and Dean and Mickey on this now. But you know, I'll do a little bit now and then. You know, I've got a lot of respect for John. He's helped me get to where I am. He's driven me around the country from a 12-year-old sparring all the good kids. Yeah, so I'll do a little bit, and I am going to keep to my roots, but obviously to this stage now I'm going to be eventually in the next 2 or 3 years boxing the best fighters in the world. Therefore I'm going to need the best coach accessible to me, the best coach in the world, which I'm going to get. But someone like him, well, he's known me great. You know, I walk into the gym as a 12-year-old person behind the counter, you know, taking my subs money, taking my £1.50 from me. So whenever he tells me some advice, I'm definitely going to take it on board. But my main trainer is obviously going to be a highly respected, regarded, you know, professional coach.
Okay, if there are no other questions, I want to as well thank you to all of you from the media. I always feel very welcome here, and I want to thank you. With many of you, I've built special relationships and friendships, and if it wouldn't be because of you, I don't think I would be here and make that step for Golden Boy. So I really appreciate the relationship I have with you, the support you have given to Golden Boy, and I hope I can count on your continued support. I'm always accessible to all of you, and really a big thank you from me to all of you. Thank you, and we're going to be available now for one-on-ones as well. Thank you.